All right, so this is going to be kind of a demo for your. I hope this is, yeah, okay. This is going to be the demo for your exercise for the day. So again, you guys should be working with warm and cool versions of blue, yellow, and red. What I have here with me, I was telling you guys this fantastic. It's kind of hard to see. I guess this is all black. This is my water container. This is the lid from this takeout container. It has a little crack in it, so I'll have to watch out for that. So I'll be mixing here. What you guys will be doing, if you haven't seen the prompt yet, is that you'll be making a grayscale black to white, and then you'll be, for each color, you'll be doing a couple steps from the pure hue to white, and then the pure hue to black for each of the 6 colors that you have. Try and get it as accurate as you can. So anyway, let's go ahead and start. I'm going to dip the brush in the water here, and I'm just going to kind of try and get some water on it so that it flows a little bit better. Next, I've got my thing here, and what I'm going to do is, actually we don't need white yet, we need to mix our black first. So I'm going to grab my warms. So, got my red, blue, and yellow. All right, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put them kind of, I like having this little, these are great because you get this area off on the side here. And I'm going kind of small because I'm always miserly with paint. It's just kind of how I do. So we've got our red, yellow, or sorry, blue, yellow, and red. And each of these, I don't know if you guys can tell from the camera or not, but they're about the size of a pea. They're not very big. And then I've got my palette knife here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start mixing. And I want to get that black first, right? So I'm going to take a pretty good chunk of this green, or the blue here. And I'm just going to kind of smudge it down in there. And then in between this, I'm going to wipe it off. I'm going to try and keep it as pure as possible. Now yellows, usually you're going to want to go a bit heavier in the yellow here. So I'm going to drop that right there, wipe it off. I probably did too much blue to begin with. And then red. So I'm going to go ahead and mix these two immediately. And as we do that, let me get the camera down here. Nope. There we go. Alright, hopefully that's not making any of you guys sick. So what we're doing is trying to mix this black. I didn't have you guys get black for this reason because I want you guys to experience this. And so we've got kind of that orange color. Now, when I talked about stuff in the previous video, I said, you know, we're not necessarily going to be, you go across in an arc on the RGB color gamut. But when we're working with this, we are actually going to be going kind of, I like to envision the color wheel, and I'll try to balance what's going on with what's opposite. When I mix black, I usually end up, it kind of ends up looking a little green. But what I'm going to do is glance at a color wheel when I do this. And I'm trying to figure out kind of where on the color spectrum is this green, right? So when I have this kind of mustardy green color here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, you know, my color wheel that I have as a reference there, and I can go, okay, well this is kind of a greenish color, it's a little yellow, so if I pull some red and blue in, it should pull it towards the center, because what I'm going for is black right now. So, try and get this to work. Okay. Sorry, you guys are going to be a little upside down. I'm doing this with a camera arm in my face. So I'm going to pull a little bit more of the green in here, or sorry, the blue in here, and then I'm just going to wipe this off, going for some more red, and we'll see how this comes out. This is why these palette knives are so nice, is you can kind of mess around with a good chunk of paint. And we're looking a bit muddy here. One thing to realize about latex paint is that it's always going to dry darker than it looks. So you're not going to really get a pure black with this method. Again, that's what the whole point of that is for. Okay, so right now it's kind of looking a little bit mustardy, right? Which is a little bit more of a deep orange color. So I'm just going to pull in a little bit more blue here. And I mean, like, it's just the tiniest dab of blue on there. But we'll see if that gets this a little bit. And usually what I found is if you can get like a good deep olive color, like see how it's getting right there. Then that will typically dry pretty dark, if not black, or black enough that it's fine by this class. We'll go ahead and add a little bit more blue in. And see how it's getting a little bit darker. We still want to go a little bit more, but we're starting to get more into that green range now again. So I'm going to go ahead and dab, clean this off, and we'll go in for more red here. Just put that right there for now. Yeah, we'll go ahead and scrape this up now and add it in. Add a bit more red. And one thing I want you guys to kind of recognize, and why I think this method is so important, is I want you guys to kind of learn how these pigments interact. Some of them are going to be a little bit thinner, some are going to be a little bit thicker, and that's something you're going to kind of have to get used to when you're working with them. So kind of, you know, keep in mind the viscosity that you're seeing when you're working with them. And still pretty close to green right there. That might be as close as we're gonna get though. But let's throw a little bit more red in there. At this point I'm going kind of slow because otherwise you've just got to go back and do it again. That actually, I don't know, it looks kind of olive greeny. I think this is going to be pretty close. Okay. We'll see if we can work with this so that I don't just sit here for 45 minutes trying to mix this to black. So let's get this off of here. Okay. Where did my brush go? Oh, right there. Okay. So I've got this, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get I just dip the very tip of this brush into the water. So I'm trying to keep it moist, but not like super wet. And then we'll go ahead and we'll take a little bit of this here, and then we'll come out to here, weaving through 10 different things, and we'll paint this square right here. And that's looking a little bit more red than I probably want. You can kind of, well, I can kind of see how it's kind of shining red through. And that's one of the things that you need to be aware of when you're working with these sort of student grade pigments, is that some of these pigments are actually multiple pigments mixed together themselves. And so some of them will have slightly different reactions than you would typically expect. Let me throw a little bit more of this blue in here. One of the advantages / disadvantages of acrylic is that it's going to dry a lot faster than oil. Oh yeah, that's better. Maybe that's what I should have been doing. Put another dab of blue in here. should be mixing up a bigger blob of this though, because I'm going to need a bit more. Yeah, you guys, yeah, I can see on the screen actually. You can kind of see the red that's in there. So let's go ahead and try this now. If we're lucky, that's kind of dried a little bit on the page. Yeah. So we'll paint this on. And get this first square started. Okay, so let's do a little bit more blue just in case. I think part of what's helping this is the blue is just the darker of the three anyway. Yeah, okay. Okay. So again, just the tip of the brush in the water there. And then, yeah, it's still a little tacky, but we'll go ahead and put this on top. And that looks like it got a little bit darker, which is kind of what we're going for. All right, so we've got that. Now we actually need to get our white out. So let's grab some white here. And I'm going to put a decent glob right there. And then back to the palette knife. And so we're going to have you guys, I'll have you guys do a couple steps for each of these transitions. So we'll just put, I'm going to put it off to the side here, and then we'll just mix some of this in. Everyone has kind of their own method to their madness, but I like kind of having a little bit off to the side that I can pull in as I need. And what I'm looking for is this to kind of change, and I might even just kind of pull sections out. Get this off the brush here, and then just wipe this off. So we'll grab some of this, pull it back in here. I'm trying to make this a little bit darker because I want better defined steps. So I've got sort of this area right here that I'm working with. This is my original pigment, this is my white. Oops, I'm with my palette knife. All right, and then we'll drop this down. And then this was getting a little bit too wet, so I'm just going to dab it off. And then again, just like a little bit into the water. And we'll sort of top that up again. And you can see this is, well, to me visually here in the room, it's looking a little bit lighter. This isn't my best mix though. Some of the cools may be a little bit better, and it kind of depends on which of the warms and cools you source from. Okay, so let me grab this. And now we'll just mix this kind of 50-50 in here, see what we end up with. And actually, that needs to go further, so we'll keep bringing this in. That's probably too soon to bring that across. Okay, so you guys can, I think, see a decent change in gradation there now on the screen. let me go ahead and get my palette knife out of the water. It's probably not the best lighting either, given all the shade that we're working with here. So let's grab some more white, put this off to the side, mix that in, a little bit of water to get that flowing better, because this is going to be drying while I'm working, right? So we'll go ahead and put this in, and now that we've added that white, you can kind of see, remember how I said it was looking a little bit too red? And that's appearing to be true. This is looking like it still skews a little bit towards the red side. Go ahead and mix these. Yeah, that's definitely looking a little bit more towards the red side, but try and get your initial mix as close as you can. But you can see it's kind of, as it's starting to dry, it's starting to get a lot darker. And while it's doing that, I'm just going to take one last glob of this part right here, the kind of dark part. I'm just going to go over this one more time, just to make sure we've got that nicely covered. Not looking for super straight lines here, just kind of get them as best you can. Okay, let's get all that off of there. Now, one thing that kind of always surprises people when you're doing these scales is that your white is going to be or your how do I put this? The light side of this, as you get lighter, it's going to need a whole lot more white in order to get it there. And so, especially again because it's going to dry darker. So the way I'm mixing this is, it seems chaotic. Well, it is chaotic. I mean, it's mixing paint. But I'm going to be using a whole lot more of the white as I get deeper into this and getting even further away. And actually, towards the last step, what I'm going to do, hold on. Of course, I'm working on top of the crack. Did I point it out to myself earlier? So I'm going to clean off this brush. Okay, so we'll clean off the palette knife, and then we'll grab another chunk of this white and drop it down right there. And this is the point where I'm going to probably start with just a tiny dot right there, and then just very slowly mix this glob in with that. And so I'm going to jump sort of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 spaces over. No, even that's. Oh, I still have paint in the brush. So this is going to be like my 10% right here, maybe 20%. Because again, once that dries, that's going to get a little bit darker. But I'm going to take this and just keep moving this over to here. And then this will fill in this space. And see I'm not crazy. Like if you jump back in the video, that looked way greener a minute ago. That's now pretty close to black. I'm not super disappointed with that. mix a little bit more here, and that's getting pretty close. Oh, I got too much water in the brush now. You need a little bit more of this. Yeah, I'm glad I kind of went back and did it this way. That was getting a little bit too quick. And you'll have to revise this a little bit. It's not an exact science, and kind of once you have to experiment again, each paint is going to be its own kind of transition. Or each pigment is going to be kind of its own thing. So when you do this, say with the warms, you'll see that they interact with each other differently than the cools. Some of the cools will have their own kind of deal they're doing. Let's grab some of that. Yeah, I want a lot more of that. And then this will cover over here. And then, yeah, you can see that one's the odd one out, so should be able to fix it with this little touch up right here. Okay. And then anytime you're doing a white, get your brush nice and clean. We have enough steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, yeah. And so white is going to be our last step here. So I'm just going to get white on the brush, and then we're just going to lay down a little square of white right here. And there we go. Now, pretty happy with that. So this is going to be my first one. This is my grayscale. What you guys are going to do next after this is I recommend you clean your whole thing up. So I'm going to go dump all of these. And one of the things that I've always noticed is the coolest colors you'll ever see are when you're cleaning your palette off and you're washing them down the sink. So I'm going to go clean these off, and then what I'll do is I'll come back and we'll do one of the other colors here so that we can continue with the demo. So let me pause this recording and we'll be back. All right, so I'm back. I now need to do the second step in here. What I've done is instead now I have the cool primary colors here, and some nice clean water. Now, just because I want you guys to get a little bit of experience mixing both, I'd highly recommend you guys do switch throughout this process. When I'm using this cool yellow, this is an example where I know from experience anything I put into this is going to come through a lot more than it did with that medium yellow in the previous one. Oh, I did not clean that off. Lives there now. Okay. So again, I'm going to put I have a huge glob of the yellow here, and I'm going to put very little of the blue, and then try and keep this clean. Very little of the red. And we'll see where we get with this. And you can see that yellow's gone so fast. And we're looking pretty greenish, but it's kind of like a So you can see though, like this is probably not a color I could have gotten with the other set of colors. Get that cleaned off, and then we'll go back in. So again, I'm referencing my color wheel. I'm seeing that this is looking kind of, actually in the camera it looks, well, I think it's that monitor is not color set up. But that's looking kind of like a teal, but visually it's more of like kind of an emerald green. So I'm going to use, again, a little bit of red to pull this back across the spectrum. And we're getting a lot closer with this. And actually, I should be mixing more of this. Should be. Because I'm going to just take all my yellow here, because we need a decent glob of this. See that yellow pulled that out, and we're kind of more back to the olive range right now. Sorry, my voice is starting to give out too, so I'm probably not going to talk as much. Okay, let me mix that a little bit better, but yeah, it's looking like we're kind of in the olive range right now, so we need a little bit of the other two just to bring us back. So we'll grab that little bit of red right there. And you can see that tone is definitely like it's a muddy red. Like we're back in that deep olive that we liked in the previous one, but it's definitely kind of tinted towards red is what I can see. So we'll leave that right there, and then wipe this off. We'll get a little bit more of the blue. And that's probably a bit too far. We're probably better where we were. That's pretty decent though. I can't be super mad at that. But that's definitely kind of more towards the blue side. Just get a little bit off the top there. Okay. See the camera, that actually looks super great right now. Let me actually move this monitor over. Yeah, that looks super great on the computer screen. That's actually probably closer to this than to that, or better black than the other one. But we'll go ahead and use this. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose one of the colors for this. So I'm going to go, I did cool colors on this, so I'm going to use this blue as my middle value. So I'm just going to get some water on the brush, dry most of that off, and then we'll see how this goes down. So grab a little glob of this and just use water. So we're going to put this right here. So this will be our black for this attempt. Okay, and then we'll clean it completely off before we get too deep into this. And then I need to get some white down here too. So get a glob of white. And that's why I really like these particular lids, is I have a recess around here that I can kind of have fun down in the bottom and mix stuff up and then keep stuff up on the side. hopefully not getting too messy. So again, we'll put another bar right here, up here white. Okay, and then with this white, oh actually, so no, let's clean it off. Now we need to get the hue, and for this hue I was going to use the blue that I already have down here. So I will just grab glob of the hue. It's going to be our middle value, so we should have 3 on each side of this. And again, look at the sort of way that this goes down as its own color, right? It's kind of translucent-ish. It's very dark. So we're going to have to be very careful about how we add into this and how we subtract out of this, because this is pretty dark just as a beginning point. Okay, so when you thin it out like that, it's that pretty blue right there. So we'll get this, and then I'm just going to swipe in. I'm actually going to do this over here. Get a little bit more of that. So this will be step 1. Oh man, that's a beautiful blue. I'm trying to get good coverage here. That. And then we'll take another glob of the white here. We've already done our white on the end there, so I'm not super concerned about it. And we'll get this another step in, probably grab a little bit more of that. Make sure that mixes nice and evenly. Dabble water. That could probably be a little bit lighter. Let's wipe this off. And then this step, I'm actually just going to mix this over here with what's on the brush already. And then let's see how this goes down. Oh, that's not a good mix. It's kind of runny and splotchy. Touch more water. Yeah, I might have to walk away from this one for a minute. Pretty decent transition right there. I'm not mad at it. Okay, so let's clean off this brush, get all this out of here, and then we'll go the other direction. So we will add it's wet. Okay, so we've got the blue. We'll take a glob of the blue. I'll put it right here, and then we'll just sweep a little chunk of this in here, and we'll see how that looks. So again, this is going to be very hard because we're working with a dark color, and I went too runny there. Try this off and see if that helps. Not really. Okay, don't try this at home. That will dry it off. Or at least get all the moisture off the paper. Whether or not it helps, we'll see. Okay, so that's a slightly better spread, but it's still not great. We'll come back, we'll add another dab of the green bordering on black. That's probably a bit much right there. But we're trying to get just nice even steps And then one more road, and this is going to be mostly that black mixture. I'm going to move it a little bit over in here. Yeah, I did go kind of quick there. Let me see if I can salvage this. Oh. Don't worry about that. Okay, grab another chunk of the blue here, and I'll try not to over mix this. Nope, that came out too dark. But it's all about learning, figuring out how these pigments work. Where am I? This is, yeah. Yeah, that one's a little bit too dark still. Let me see if I can try that. This one more time. So actually, let's just mix what's right here. So I got that. Grab that. Yeah, we're probably too far into that. Let me actually get, because our original one was a little bit transparent too, so that could be affecting it. So let me go back and redab this. Our original. And see if that helps. Not really, unfortunately. But we're doing the best we can here. So, yeah. All right. My NyQuil appointment time is running close. So, you guys will do this again 5 more times. You'll do it once for each warm and once for each cool. So you should have your grayscale one, 2 blues, 2 yellows, 2 reds. That's all you guys are going to be working on for this exercise. So we'll have that due Wednesday. Probably I might have you guys just take pictures and send them in. And I will see you guys, I guess, when I see you once I get better.